feel very proud to be a part of Cruachan Power Station and the fact that it is 60 years old. Myself and the rest of the team at Cruachan Power Station will hopefully be able to continue its legacy long into the future.
Deep in the Scottish Highlands stands Ben Cruachan, a peak that looks like any other ancient granite mountain rising 3,300 feet above Loch Awe. Tourists come here expecting scenic views and hiking trails, but what they're really searching for is something invisible from the outside, something that fundamentally changed how Britain keeps its lights on. Ben Cruachan isn't solid, it's hollow. Beneath that granite shell lies a hidden engineering city carved from solid rock, containing reversible turbines weighing 1.3 million pounds each, 12 miles of tunnels snaking through darkness, and a machine hall tall enough to fit the Tower of London inside. This is Cruachan Power Station, a giant water battery built in the 1960s by 4,000 workers who spent 6 years blasting through granite to create what many call the breathing mountain, a facility that can power 100,000 homes, responds to Britain's electrical grid in seconds, and has operated for over 60 years with virtually zero emissions. But here's what makes this story genuinely remarkable. Cruachan was designed during the height of nuclear war fears as a power source that could survive bombardment, yet it accidentally became the prototype for solving one of renewable energy's biggest problems: how to store electricity when the sun doesn't shine and wind doesn't blow. What happened inside that mountain 6 decades ago is suddenly relevant again, so relevant that Scotland is investing another $100 million to expand it into what will become Western Europe's largest water battery. This is the story of how humans carved out a mountain's heart and taught it to breathe in sync with an entire nation's electrical needs. The story begins in 1959, when the world lived under the shadow of nuclear annihilation and Britain faced an existential question: if bombs fall, how does a country keep its lights on? Sir Edward McCall, a visionary engineer, proposed something that sounded like science fiction: build a power plant inside a mountain. Not near a mountain or beside one, but actually hollowed out from the interior of solid granite. Why granite? Because it's nature's strongest shield, capable of protecting critical infrastructure from almost anything humans could throw at it. The goal was creating a renewable, everlasting power source hidden in Scotland's wilderness where conventional attacks couldn't reach it. The project mobilized 4,000 workers who called themselves the Tunnel Tigers, warriors fighting against stone. For 6 years, they lived in temporary wooden huts around Loch Awe, far from families and civilization. The conditions inside those tunnels were brutal. Humidity stayed above 95%, temperatures soared between 95 and 105 degrees Fahrenheit, and dust was so thick it hung in the air like fog. Every day they drilled, blasted, and hauled rock, 7.8 million cubic feet of granite removed entirely by hand. When dynamite charges were set manually, workers had less than 20 seconds to escape the blast zone. They literally ran for their lives daily. 15 men didn't make it out. They remain forever inside that mountain, their sacrifice memorialized by the Drax group through a special tartan pattern with 15 dark green stripes worn only by plant guides. On the tunnel walls, graffiti still remains from those years: Hell's Kitchen, the Dragon's Throat. Proof of days when humans battled the earth itself and somehow won. On October 15, 1965, Queen Elizabeth II personally cut the ribbon at Cruachan's opening ceremony. The speed of construction was remarkable, hollowing out a massive mountain interior in just 6 years using 1960s technology. But what fascinates engineers worldwide isn't the construction timeline. It's how a power plant buried inside solid rock actually functions as a giant battery. Here's the elegant simplicity. At the top of the mountain sits an artificial reservoir. At the bottom lies Loch Awe. At night, when electricity demand drops because people sleep, excess power from wind turbines and other sources that can't be stored goes to waste, unless you have Cruachan. That surplus electricity pumps millions of cubic yards of water from the lower loch up to the upper reservoir, essentially charging the mountain like a massive battery. Then at dawn, when millions of people simultaneously turn on lights, start coffee makers, fire up factories, and power trains, when electricity demand spikes dangerously, Cruachan breathes out. Valves open and water from the upper reservoir, sitting nearly 1,300 feet above, rushes down through 12 miles of spiral tunnels, creating massive pressure on 4 Francis reversible turbines weighing 1.3 million pounds each. In less than 30 seconds, That falling water converts into clean electricity sufficient to power the entire city of Edinburgh. The system operates at 75% efficiency, and when the reservoir is full, Cruachan can generate electricity non-stop for 22 hours, equal to what Monaco consumes in an entire day. Outside, blizzards may sweep through the valley, but inside the mountain, temperature stays steady at 64 degrees Fahrenheit. If you've seen science fiction movies depicting future energy stations, Cruachan is the real-life version. 12 miles of tunnels, a machine hall as tall as the Tower of London, light reflecting off granite walls making the entire space seem to glow from within. No smoke, no coal, no exhaust pipes, just water and gravity working together exactly as engineers designed 60 years ago. But Cruachan is far more than a giant water battery. It serves as the heartbeat regulator for Britain's entire electrical grid. Whenever grid frequency fluctuates even slightly, Cruachan responds instantly to stabilize it. There's even a uniquely British phenomenon called the TV pickup, or tea-break surge, that Cruachan was specifically designed to handle. Every time a popular television show ends, millions of Britons simultaneously stand up and turn on electric kettles to make tea. In those few minutes, the entire nation creates a massive power spike that can destabilize the grid. The biggest surge happened during the 1990 World Cup after the penalty shootout between England and West Germany. When the referee blew the final whistle, electricity demand soared by 2,800 megawatts in just 5 minutes, equivalent to the combined output of 3 Sizewell B nuclear power plants firing up simultaneously. In that critical moment, Cruachan was immediately activated, releasing water from the upper reservoir, spinning turbines, and saving the national grid from collapse. The 4 Francis reversible turbines are engineering marvels that can operate as both pumps and generators. When water is pumped upward, they run in pump mode. When water flows down, they instantly switch to generator mode. This allows the entire charge and discharge cycle to run seamlessly. Everything is controlled to keep the national grid stable at precisely 50 Hz. When frequency drops, Cruachan releases water to add power. When it rises, the system pumps water back up to absorb excess energy. If Britain's electrical grid is a heart, Cruachan functions as its pacemaker, constantly making micro-adjustments to keep everything beating in rhythm. Each complete cycle allows Cruachan to store up to 10 gigawatt-hours of energy, enough to power Glasgow for almost an entire day. No lithium battery on Earth can match its lifespan, safety record, or environmental profile. The plant has operated for over 60 years with virtually zero emissions, no pollution, and still runs as smoothly as the day Queen Elizabeth cut that ribbon. The construction cost in 1965 was just £24 million, about £600 million in today's money. For comparison, that's less than building a single modern offshore wind farm, yet Cruachan has been generating and storing power reliably for 6 decades. Cruachan's story isn't finished. It's about to be reborn for an entirely new purpose. The world has changed dramatically since 1965. Wind and solar energy are booming across Europe, but they have a fatal flaw. They only work when weather cooperates. When wind stops or sun goes down, millions of panels and turbines sit idle, generating nothing. That's precisely when countries need massive storage capacity to hold nature's energy for later use. Cruachan is the perfect solution. It can absorb excess electricity at night and release it during peak demand with no lithium batteries and no toxic waste. Starting in 2025, the Drax Group will begin constructing a new 600-megawatt turbine complex, raising total capacity to 1.04 gigawatts. The project, worth approximately $100 million and requiring 5 to 8 years, will enable Cruachan 2.0 to store enough renewable energy for 1 million households, 10 times its current capacity. But the numbers don't tell the full story. Cruachan 2.0 is also being designed for Black Start Protocol, the ability to restart the entire national grid after a complete blackout. In today's world, only a handful of facilities globally possess sufficient power and independence to accomplish that feat. If the entire United Kingdom were plunged into total darkness, Cruachan 2.0 would function as the power button for the whole country, jump-starting other power stations until the grid rebuilds itself. This project is a cornerstone of Scotland's Net Zero 2045 strategy, one of Europe's most ambitious green energy goals. When complete, Cruachan 2.0 will be Western Europe's largest water battery and serve as the model for 8 new pumped hydro projects planned across the UK. Cruachan may be Britain's most famous breathing mountain, but it's not alone. In Wales, nearly 3,300 feet inside Elydir Mountain, sits Dinorwig Power Station, proudly nicknamed Electric Mountain. It's one of Europe's largest underground hydro plants, capable of producing 1.8 gigawatts of power in just 16 seconds, faster than you can brew morning tea. When completed in 1984 at a cost of £425 million, over £1.1 billion today, it was the world's most expensive hydro project. Across the Atlantic in Washington state near Seattle, Snoqualmie Falls Power Station hides behind a 270-foot waterfall. Operating since 1899, it's America's first underground power plant and still generates electricity today. When tourists gaze up at the foaming falls, few realize that directly below, that same water is powering thousands of homes. Further north in Quebec, the Robert Bourassa hydroelectric station is a true cathedral of energy, hidden nearly 460 feet underground in a hall stretching 1,585 feet long. 16 giant turbines quietly generate 7,700 megawatts, enough for over 8 million Canadian homes. And in the Swiss Alps, the Nom de Drance project took 14 years to build at a cost exceeding $2 billion. Now it stores 20 gigawatt-hours of energy, equivalent to 400,000 Tesla car batteries, providing power for 1 million homes. These breathing mountains are proliferating worldwide, quiet, smokeless, silently keeping the planet's electrical rhythm stable. Here's what might surprise you most. Cruachan's hidden structure has had hugely positive environmental impact. 6 decades after opening, the area around Loch Awe and Ben Cruachan has been recognized by Scotland's Conservation Agency as a nature-positive site. Over 50 bird species now live around the dam: owls, falcons, golden eagles. The pine marten population, a rare forest mammal once nearly extinct in Britain, doubled between 2010 and 2020. What surprises ecologists most is Loch Awe's ecosystem recovery. After the reservoir was created, steady circulating water helped double salmon and whitefish populations because temperatures no longer swing wildly between seasons, something no previous dam project had achieved. Inside the mountain, natural winter shelter formed for bats, owls, and rare moths. While many view power plants as environmental enemies, Cruachan became a wildlife haven. Scientists now use this area to study how land around the loch naturally absorbs carbon, helping determine how effectively forests and wetlands store carbon dioxide. Today, more than 50,000 visitors come to Ben Cruachan annually, not just to hike or admire Loch Awe, but to step inside the mountain and witness the artificial heart beating steadily beneath hundreds of millions of years of granite. Many say when those giant steel doors open, it feels like stepping into a movie, except everything is real. The hum of turbines, the misty air, the rock walls still bearing drill marks from the 1960s. Cruachan has become a symbol of a new energy philosophy. Technology doesn't always have to fight nature. Sometimes it just needs to blend in. That's why people call this place the mountain that stores electricity, a perfect definition for 21st century clean energy. 6 decades have passed, and Ben Cruachan stands not just as an engineering marvel, but as proof that humans and nature can work together, that technology can help the Earth renew rather than destroy it. The breathing mountain still breathes, still saves Britain's grid during tea breaks, and still offers a glimpse of what energy infrastructure could look like if we built with nature instead of against it.